Okay. Hi everyone again. First of all, thanks for joining in the morning. Today we are going to have a really important session that's gonna set your stage for the next few weeks, and also um, the students that who are here who doesn't have a startup yet or like a MVP yet. At the end of the session, I think they're gonna have a full idea of what is an MVP and how can you build it, and later how can you iterate and like develop that one and launch it in the market. So that's what our lecture is all about today. Minimum viable product, which is MVP. And inside that, we're going to talk about how can you do rapid iteration, targeting sales channels, and also business models under minimum viable product. So at first, let's have a quick review of our lecture two. So we talked about how to find a co-founder. So we mentioned that the way to do it, there are a few ways to do it. Network widely to expand your potential co-founder pool. And then also, if the founders should have a mutual support um, each with each other. And then for equity, you can use ESOPs, cliffs, and vesting for fair equity distribution. I think that those part are clear. And then we also talked about once you have a co-founding team, how do you conflict resolutions? Obviously, you'll have to have a certainty. Like you don't need to claim to know the outcome. Like for as a simple example, like I know this is going to happen. No one can predict what's going to happen. So when you're dealing with kind of conflicts, that's how you solve it. Knowing other people's opinions at first. Then obviously you'll have to avoid impulse decisions and seek help from your mentors or from others outside of your startup who are in the leading part of the industry. We talked about mission, vision, and values. These three are really crucial part of your startup in the long run. Mission is an action plan for today. Vision is your future destination, and your values are guiding principles. User research, we talked about it. You'll have to set goals, do hypotheses, and the principle of the user research is to listen more, speak less, and let the users guide the conversation. Then we talked about product definition. I don't know if the screen is moving. Yeah. Um, the product definition is simple. You'll have to at first identify the problem. Uh, that's the core of a startup. You don't really find an idea of yourself and then you try to like make a startup. It's just you find a problem that maybe you felt or someone your family or friends felt, and you try to solve that problem with a startup. Then you understand your users. You'll have to really know who is your target audience. You cannot say, okay, everyone in this world will use my product. It never happens. Even the big companies, they don't have a big like 7 billion people as their customers. And especially when you are starting a startup, your target customer is really niche, maybe a couple hundred people, some thousand people, and then later once you go to the next stage, your target audience grows, and you'll have to define your solution to the point. The clear solution to the problem will always help you in the long run, because at the very beginning, it's also going to help you because you get to show this product to your user and they have a really better user experience. Lastly, build, measure, learn, implement, and refine your product. Iterate to excellence. Continuously improve the product. So that was the recap for our lecture two. Now we're going to talk about and discuss creating an MVP for testing and validation. So what is MVP? So MVP, it's a simple version of a product to test core ideas. I'm saying again, it's a simple version of a product to test core ideas. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be like with super functionalities, lots of features. It's just to the point product that solves one specific problem of a targeted user base. So how to build an MVP? That's a question that will always come to your mind when you're starting out. First of all, you'll have to start small. Test your core hypothesis and gather data. Then you'll have to know that MVP is about learning what your users truly need, that we already talked about in your previous lecture as well. And a lot of the times the mistake that we make is like we introduce features by yourself and let the users see, okay, this is a feature that we have innovated, now you try it out. Whether it's a good approach or not in the industry, it's not a good approach. How you work at first, your customers will give you feature request, and based on that, based on the priority, you launch the features. It's not who comes first, who you come first, is the users who comes first, and then your other ideas of features can wait later on. And avoid perfection, speed and efficiency. If you look at this picture right on the right corner, startup is not built like in the first one. It's like you are trying to build a car. You don't really start with building a car. At first, you specialize in one special category. Let's say if we give an example of NVIDIA, uh, they are the most valuable company in the world. They are the first company to reach $4 trillion valuation, which is like fourth largest economy in the world if you look at that like as a country. And they started as a company who wanted to like make chips and for people who want to play video games. And then later, in 2013, Jensen Huang, the founder, he saw that the improvement of AI, artificial intelligence, and he invested a lot in machine learning technologies. And his bet at that time, the investors and everyone was like against it. They were like, no, you're going to lose money, because for the past 20, 30 years, they didn't have that much of profit. They were always on the brink of bankruptcy. And then later when he bet, and then later recently when the AI effect came into play, their company soar. Like if you look at the graph chart of NVIDIA, you'll see there's a huge spike. So that's how it's built. You start like if you want to build a car, you start with skateboard, then you go to scooter, then bicycle, then a Honda, like a motorcycle, and then you go and build a car. And the key here is to launch early and often. I'll show more about that later on as well. Now it's your time to start building. Okay, so you'll have to stop thinking about elegant solutions. Like I'm gonna be the best in the market when you're first coming into a market as a newcomer. You cannot build the most elegant solution. You'll have to break down a major business idea into a smaller, testable hypothesis for evaluation. How does that experiment look like? So entrepreneurs often act on ideas that seem great on paper, but later realize they're unrealistic. That's why you need to do a lot of experiment with a really small, with a product that is like really small and that targets to really small base of customers. Because then if you launch it, you test it out in the market, you know what works and what doesn't. Before you launch it, everything is like great on paper. Like, okay, I'm the first in the market who offers this solution, and no one in this industry have done this before. You think that no one in this industry have done this before, but if you don't go out and research if any other startup started and they failed because they tried to solve the same problem that you're trying to solve, but that didn't work, or why the big companies are not solving the problem that you're solving. They have more money, they have more power, why they're not solving that problem. You'll have to ask that questions, and a lot of the times maybe you will not find that information, even though nowadays it's really easy to find this information through AI technologies like Gemini or Google. But the best way to test your idea is to launch a really minimum viable product and then test how the users likes it, if there's any real need or not. Until you launch, no one's gonna understand what is it for and if they even really need it. To be honest, users don't even know what they need until you show it to them. So you'll have to at first show it, okay, this is what I've built, try it out. Once they try it, they feel like, okay, this is solving a core problem of their day-to-day life. That's where you find a product market fit. So you'll also have to pick the right experiment. you can ask yourself three questions. Like, what type of hypotheses are you testing? Like, what is the core idea that you want to test? And it should be really simple. And you can't say, okay, I want to test this one, that one. You have to pick one single hypothesis that kind of like gives an overview of your startup, and then you have to start from there. And there's also a level of uncertainty. How much evidence do you already have for a specific hypothesis? Gather as much as evidence as possible at first, then you can kind of like be half sure, not even full, that okay, this might work. So 1/3 of your idea, if it's going to work or not, depends on your evidence. But still, once you launch in the market, you can see it goes otherwise. Maybe the urgency is how much time do you have until the next major decision point or until you run out of money. This is a really key important point for the startups. Speed. So a lot of times we wait for like, okay, this is the right time to launch. This is the right time to introduce a new product, introduce a new service. But you don't really know until you launch it. And the next major decision would come when you get the feedback from the users, and based on that, you make the upcoming decisions of your startup. And if you're starting out with a minimum amount of money that is your own, and you run out of it because you haven't really kept up with the trends and you didn't really move fast, then once you run out of money, you're gonna give up on your startup, even though maybe after 2 3 years, if you keep persisting on it and you updated your things like frequently, and you showed the user and gave them the best experience. If you can't do that in the long run, then eventually it will come into an end. That's how startups fail. If you look at the stats, you'd be amazed that around 70-80% startups fail within the first 1 year. So that's where, and how do you calculate when you like the age of your startup? The day you launch it, that's the first day of your startup. Like that's the first day in the market, and from there you calculate the days after launching. If you can survive for the first 1 2 3 years, and you have a good customer base, then later on you can get some money from the investors, because you can show them a track of success. You can show them your growth rate. We're gonna talk more about growth later on in our future lectures, like what amount of growth you need to have, like daily active users, monthly active users, to test and validate whether it's working or not. So in terms of experiment, this is like a really simple breakdown. I'll not go deeper into it. And then I'll probably move into the next one. The key concept of MVP by Marty Kagan. He mentioned that the smallest possible product that has three critical characteristics is minimum viable product. Once it's valuable, people choose to use it or buy it. Usable, people can figure out how to use it. You don't have to give them fancy tutorials and show them around. People will be able to figure out to how to use it by themselves. That's how simple it should be. And feasible, we can complete it using available resources by the required deadline. So a lot of the times when entrepreneurs start building a startup, and I have so many friends who talk about, like, I have an idea but I haven't started yet, and I ask them, why didn't you start? Oh, they say, I don't have money, I don't have support, I don't have my co-founders yet. But to be honest, if you need all of those things, then it's not a startup, then you're trying to start a business. For a startup, you can start it by yourself today. Like even today when we are having this lecture, if I just stop it right now and just give you 30 minutes, you should be able to at least have an idea and show a concept of this is what you are going to do. And that's what MVP is all about. The available resources that you have. And nowadays, everyone is building startup. I mean, it's more competitive than ever. Now, entrepreneurship has become a really hot job. Into early 2000s, software engineering was like a hot job because internet was exploding. Nowadays, the AI technologies have become so accessible that if you just go and do vibe coding, like you just do prompting and it can build your app or websites. You just need to know the authentication system, just how to connect the dots. Like most of the people knows the first 80%, but they get stuck in the next 20%. And I'm gonna show you guys tomorrow how you can build a full-fledged product with just AI technologies. So you have to like really have that mindset of what is a minimal viable product and then go launch it in the market. If I give you an example, this is a real life example. When I was in Beijing last summer, um, I saw this product being developed in front of my eyes. So there, if you look at their MVP, and this was their MVP. This is just a small camera and some transistors that they have put together. That they just it looks like a scrap. You can see, and no one's gonna understand that it's a product. It's a startup. People would think, oh, it's a school project. But if you look at the final product, this is what it looks like. This is what it looks like. So that's what you should do. Like at first, you should look at the big picture of, okay, this is my end product that I want to have, but you cannot reach there in the first day. And if you can reach there in the first day, then that means anyone in the world can build that product. You are not special. You'll have to realize the hard truth in entrepreneurship. If you think that you're special, you're not. Sorry to break it to you. If I said today, like, oh, I'm building this startup and no one in this market can do that, I'm lying to myself, not even to you. So that's why I want to bring the truth to you guys. If you feel like, okay, this is a really a market where you are really special, it's not. It's really harsh. Once you go into the market, you'll see like everyone is competitive, and it's really hard to survive at the very beginning until you become established with your startup. And so here, you need to have a really proof of concept of what's going to work and what's not going to work. And the only way is to like make something really small, a really simple one, show it to the market, show its core functionality. So what this product did is like a AI companion. So you have the camera and you have this kind of chip that kind of like see some kind of text or messages in front of you, and it can give you suggestions right away. You can have your earphones plugged in with, and you can connect it with your watch, and then you can just communicate with it right away. You don't have to go to your phone, go to ChatGPT, and then just type everything. That's what they're trying to build, and they also got investments. And with this product, with this kind of MVP, they just did some cool stuff. Like if you look at the middle picture, this was their product when they applied for funding, and then they got $300,000 funding for that product. And you might be amazed, like, why? How can they get a product? How can they get investments like 300,000 for this product? Because it's a hardware product. For hardware product, at the very beginning, it's you don't really get to build like a humanoid robot and then go ask for funding. You start with something small, and then the investor sees the long-term value, and then they will invest. But for software product, it's different. I'm going to show more about that in the upcoming slides. So this was the main idea of like what MVP looks like and how you can turn it into a real life product. So the last slide of this whole MVP thing is that you'll have to look at these pyramids, and you'll have to see where your thinking process is now. Are you thinking in this way, which is in the left? Like you want to build a really cool design, then you want to make it usable for people, and then reliable, and then functional. If you're going in this direction, you're going in the complete wrong direction. In the startup world, how it should be, at first you make the product functional, then reliable, usable, then emotional design, like okay, all the UX design, making it fancy, everything comes into play. If you're going in this wrong direction, done. Even if even if you have been into that direction already, just pivot. Just go into this direction right away. Forget about all the fancy designs and everything on and like a lot of new features. Focus on a core functionality. Like if you give me your product today, am I gonna be able to use it and solve my problem or not? If the question is no, then you need to work on your functionality. That's the core thing of starting. So I think after this lecture, you guys, I provide you guys a slides. So I hope you guys are gonna do some self-study as well and take notes of where you stand and where you need to go. And why MVP matters? It's like it's the really best way. I would say the best way to validate your product idea early on. It saves time and resources and accelerates feedback. Because once you have an MVP, you launch into market or you show it to investors, you'll get feedback, and that's how it's gonna work. And inside MVP, there's another term called lean MVP. Has anyone heard about lean muscles, like growing lean muscles? Um, Anyone wanna speak out and uh tell me what does lean mean?
Yeah, I guess this is Lean Six Sigma. Yeah, we both saw it.
Sorry, can you come again?
Lean Six Sigma, like how much you can minimize the error
Mm-hmm.
and produce like in large quantity your product, but minimum error.
Yeah, it's you're right. It's the same way as like building muscles. Like when you go to a gym bro and you ask like, hey, how do you want to build your muscle? Like hey, they will say, oh, I want to build lean muscles. What does it mean? Like they're gonna put a lot of effort. Like how it works is that you are eating a lot, but you're eating healthy food so that you don't get fat along the way. But you're still growing muscles, but not in a really typical way where you're like getting a belly fat, your cholesterol is rising. So that's like it's a maintained way. So how it works in terms of startup is that at first you have an idea and you'll have to spend a minimum amount of time. Let's see if you have an idea. Nowadays you should not spend more than like 2 weeks to like thinking about and like preparing everything to build. Once you build it, you have a product and launch. Within 1 month, you should have a launch. And then you should measure okay, how it works of like what is the feedback, what is the data of this whole thing that you launched, how people are seeing it, how people are like getting into your service, how people are like looking into it. Like all of this data, you'll have to put it into a CSV file and like track every single metric. Then from the data that you get from your users, you need to learn of like what is their user behavior, like how they're using a product, what functionalities they're using more, and how much time they're spending on my platform. Like everything, once you get those data, then based on that, you generate maximum amount of learning. That's the core thing when you're starting out. You'll have to learn as much as possible from your customers' data and their feedback. And then based on that you generate a new idea. Okay, I see my customer is looking into this functionality more and they're using it frequently. How can I improve that more? That's your core idea now. And then you're working on like, okay, now let's try to develop this more so that the user has better experience. Then you follow the cycle again. You build, you show them then new launch, like, okay, we have introduced this functionality, and then you again measure that how they're performing. If you constantly do that for a year, you'll have such a great product that is irreplaceable. Now, anyone in the market can launch the same idea as you, but they don't have the same data as you, the real life testing that you have, and the real life learning that you have. None of them has. That's why a lot of the times you'll see in a market there are a lot of competitors, but there's only one key player who's winning. Because if you go into their uh, office and talk with the founders, you'll see they have followed this kind of path. So one more key term here is like following the lean MVP strategy. In most cases, I will say why it's in most cases you need to follow lean MVP because it's built quickly, weeks or even days, and nowadays even hours. And you'll have minimal functionality, include only the bare essentials. Target audience, appeal to a small set of early adopters, and the foundation should be a base to iterate rapidly later on. And there's another term which is heavy MVP. In a very few cases. What is heavy MVP? It's like you need to have a lot of functionality, you need to follow a lot of rules and regulations to launch the product. And it works into the hard tech market. For example, if you want to build a robot, if you want to build a platform like Alipay that kind of like deals with transactions, like even like national transactions or cross-border transactions, you need to follow a lot of government rules and regulations and everything. and biotech, you need to work with heavy machineries, and it's about human life. And then these are moonshot is also like all of those combined. So if you're going into these industries, then no one would mind that, okay, you were like spending more time and having a lot of features as in your MVP. But if I guess like most of you who already shared your idea, you're building a software kind of product, which falls under lean MVP. So if any of you have like a hard take, that's a different case. I haven't heard any from any of you, which is in your first cohort, we had a team who were building this kind of like automation technologies that can help the farmers. It's a really different thing, and they had to spend a lot of time into the R&D, research and development, and they had to had a lot of regulations checked. So you can just, for all of you who are watching it, you can just forget it. If you're not going into these industries, your focus should be in the lean MVP and follow the strategies to build it. And once you build the MVP, what's the way to verify your MVP? First of all, you'll have to identify the core issues that need to be verified. Design the simplest and most effective MVP, collect feedback from target users, analyze feedback, and validate hypotheses. I think I'm talking about this again and again because these are the core thing. You can now understand the steps that I've already talked about. You have an idea, you test it out, you see, you get as much evidence as possible to verify it. Then you design it, you make the product, you launch it, you collect the feedback, analyze the feedback, and validate the hypothesis, and then you're good to go. This is a really simple way, and this is the best effective and most effective way. And how do you measure that it's an effective MVP? You'll get positive user feedback, not from your friend, not from your family members, but from strangers who are your real users. I've talked about it in our previous session as well. Don't go and ask your friends to like give you feedback about your startup and about the product that you have built. Their feedback will always be good, and you will not get a real life feedback of what it needs to be improved. Number two, core assumptions will be validated. The core assumptions that you had in your mind, now you'll be able to see whether it's right or wrong. If it's wrong, you'll have to adapt to that situation, and if it's right, okay, move into that direction and improve more. The third and most important thing is willing to pay for MVP. This is the only case where you can believe your friend. If you go to your friend and say, hey, this is the product I have, please test it out. And if they say, oh, it's a good, and then you can ask, are you willing to pay for the MVP? Then pay for it right now. If they pays for the product at that time for the MVP, that means they're giving you right feedback. If they say, oh no, I don't need it right now, I don't have money right now, they're lying. Simple as that. So even you're going to the strangers and people are really amazed with it. At the very beginning, you don't have to give a price, but if once they start using it, and then you can ask, hey, we have this thing and that thing that can solve you more of your problem. Like, are you willing to pay for it? You just ask them. They don't have to pay. Just ask. And then if they're willing to pay for it, you see, like, okay, it's kind of validated. They will use it once you start putting some subscription. Most of the startups when they're launching, they don't put pricing like, okay, the premium pricing is this and that, because we don't have a like a real life repetition yet. One, because you're a startup, you're not a business yet. So what you do, you let them use the product as much as they can at the very beginning. I mean, I'm not asking like if they're gonna be able to solve everything they have that they need, but a core thing, maybe just one simple thing that solves their problem. If you're trying to target and solve maybe all the other related problems as well, based on a core idea, just let them use the core feature. And if they like it, and then you can say we have other things as well, and you can just sit out. But then, are you willing to pay for it? That's how the process works. And then obviously you have to obtain the expected conversion rate. You'll have to see what's your expected conversion rate, like how much people are coming to your service and how many of them are converting into a paid customer. That those are your real customers. People who are visiting, like every day we visit a lot of different websites. We are not customers on this website. Those websites can see that we are visiting their website, but they are not like targeting us. They might send us an email if we have provided them the email, like, hey, this is what we have. But if you're not going the second time, third time, or maybe 10 times, we're not that customer. So your customer is only the people who are paying you and who are visiting you every day or every week. And then later, once you have this process ready, you can go out and open financing and then also cooperate with other industries or technologies. This is a thing that this is the process that you need to follow. You cannot raise funds before you have the previous process done, launching, getting feedback, getting the real life users. Before that, you cannot raise funds. It's really, really hard out there. Now, let's move into like the clear-cut findings of MVP. First of all, acquisition of paid users. You need to look at how much paid users you have. You'll have to have user engagement and retention, which is like daily active users, DAU, instead of monthly active users. If you focus on daily active users, you'll be able to see and measure the performance of your product in a better way. If you look at this story of Facebook, I want to ask a question to everybody. Does anybody here know about the movie Social Network, and who have watched it? Just say it out or send me a emoji in the text. Who have watched the movie The Social Network? It's a story about how Facebook was funded, how some students in Harvard University who found this idea, and some might say stole the idea, and then they built what we have today. Okay, Saran. Uh, okay. If you haven't watched it, I would highly, highly recommend you watch the movie. There are a lot of other movies related to startups, but you can start it right away because this is a really famous one, and you already know about Facebook. There are also a lot of other movies and series that talks about other startups, but you might not be well known. I will share that with you guys later on. And if we have chance to meet in person, we can have a movie night together as well. But that's a different thing. Go and search wherever you can. Social Network. I think it's also available in YouTube, and you'll be able to see how a startup journey works. Not every single detail, but how you can see like what are the complexities and how someone can take from a simple idea, pivot to a bigger idea, and then go and launch and then become a billion-dollar company. And Mark Zuckerberg had this really cool aesthetic. Okay, Layla is asking what's the name of the movie. The Social Network. Okay, I'm gonna write it here. Network. Okay. Yeah. So Mark Zuckerberg didn't really look into monthly active users. So in his time, most of other startups are looking into monthly active users. Like, okay, how many people are visiting my site monthly and they're using it? But he saw a more potential into daily active users because people can come and go every other day. If you look into the whole monthly graphics, then it's not going to make a lot of sense. But if you look into daily active users, it's going to help you to get your core users. And then obviously focus on the organic growth. At the very beginning, you don't need to do marketing, social media marketing, spend a bunch of money into that, and like try to get customers who are not really your customers. If your product is really good, people are gonna know about it and come to use it by yourself. Have you ever seen any ad about OpenAI? Like people are like doing ads about OpenAI. Hey, come and use ChatGPT. No, it's a word of mouth. Once you have a great product, people, hey, there's a software like this and that solves this problem that can give you answer right away. That's how it works. And even though this is a big market, everyone is now trying to use AI. But if your target customer, let's say, you're trying to teach language to someone, um, and then one user uses it and then they have a really great result and they say, oh my god, I've tried to learn language from different other platforms, but this is the first time where I was able to learn it way faster, had better communication, and then go and tell their other friends, because usually people who are language learners enthusiasts, they have a community of people and they're going to talk about it. That's how you're going to get organic growth. After you have a set of customers, like 1,000 customers or more than that, who are using it later on, and you are having enough money to put it into marketing, or you've got funding, then you can spend some budget for your marketing later on. But till to this date, like companies like OpenAI, Nvidia, Microsoft, Google, and also Apple, and all of the other companies like Tesla, they never ever show ads. They have never even show ads in their entire startup career. When they started, and today, no, no, no ads. But that doesn't mean that you don't need to show ads. If you're going into some industries require you to show ads, some industry doesn't. Um, but the main core thing is that when you start, try to have the organic growth. And based on customer feedback, that the features they request, you build upon that. And if you make any mistakes along the way, have a quick recovery. You cannot sit with your mistakes for like days and weeks and months. Like, hey, we have hit this wall. Now, how are we gonna solve it? As founders, you'll have to make decisions really quick and recover from that. Start mistakes in startups are inevitable. It's gonna happen. If it doesn't happen, then that means your startup is not gonna work out. It's gonna happen. But if it happens, don't panic. Just move on with the thing. Try to learn from that mistake, and then later on, try to have a better version or better product, or a better feature. And lastly, look at the revenue and growth metrics. This matters at the end, uh, be after you have all the processes done. So the key to building MVP is the key to success. If you move quickly, fail fast, you succeed faster. Um, Okay. Saran talked about. Okay, yeah, the hummingbird project is also really good one. But the thing is, like a social network, why I talked about it, because it's really widely known, and once you watch it, you also get to talk about it, like what is it about, and you can discuss with it because it's widely available. But yeah, later on, once you go on, you move on, you will be you'll be able to go into specific industries, and there are a lot of movies about it. So yeah, let's get back to our topic. You The core thing that you are thinking about when you're building an MVP quickly is that you'll have to time box your specifications. What do I mean by that? You don't have to have all the features and launch it all together. You can say, okay, this month we're gonna launch this feature and see how it performs. If it performs, we're gonna keep it. If it doesn't, we're gonna change it or we're gonna remove it. Next month, we're gonna launch this one. And at first, you might be launching new features monthly, then probably like even weeks. Every week, you're showing something new. You're keeping your customers awake. You're letting them use it. Like you'll have to have customer engagement. At the very beginning, your customer is like your family. You'll have to email them, you'll have to chat with them, you'll have to talk with them, not only about your startup, like, hey, did you like it? Because if you just come to me and every single minute you ask me, hey, did you have a good experience with my product? Did you use it today? How much time did you spend? No, that's the thing, that's the data that you need to collect from the tools. You can ask about all the other things, like, hey, how was your day, and did you have any problem using my product? That's it. And then later you can ask about other things if you become like really close and you're trying to keep them, and if they're going to share their information as well, you can give them some emotional empathy, like build a connection, like with your customer, because they're going to be your marketer at the very beginning. Your customers are going to talk about your product, so they are your marketers. Write down your specifications and cut as much complicated specifications as possible, make it as simple as possible. And lastly, don't fall in love with your MVP. If you believe that, okay, I built a really great product, I love it so much, I don't want to change anything, I'm going to keep it like that way, that's the first stage where you are setting yourself for failure. You find the thing that works or not. If it works, great. Now you need to improve. You cannot really stay in that way. Always, always improve that one, keep moving forward, and that's how you become build a great startup. No startups in the world, if you look at like great companies, how they started at the very beginning and now where they are, if they always stayed with their MVP and they just try to like just fall like have love and like compassion with that MVP, they're not gonna be where they are today. So just keep that in mind, which is gonna pay you in the long run. So before we move into rapid iteration, I don't know if any of you are already tired. One key thing I think, after the class when I asked for the feedback, I think I got one or two feedbacks where some of you might have mentioned that the class is too long. Yeah, it is too long because we are having the class only every Saturday, and the content that we're covering, there are like university courses that rolls out for whole semester to teach these things, and a lot of times they're not even like completely structured, and they don't get the real life data. So if you go to Stanford, there is a course about entrepreneurship. Even in my university, there are a course about entrepreneurship that talks about for the whole semester, and so that's why I need to put all of the information in a really compact way as much as possible. I'm not sharing a lot of details. I could give you example of every single details I'm talking about, but because of the time limit I can. But still, it becomes 2 hours because it's startup. You have a lot of information to cover, and I want all of you, after you finish this whole cohort, you know most of the things, 80% about what the startup culture is all about. What is growth? What is monthly active users? What is MVP? What is mission, vision, values? And all of those things that we already talked about. And in the future, you're gonna know more about other terms. Especially in yesterday, I mean not yesterday, last week, we talked about vesting, which is a really important topic. If you go to some startup founders who maybe have a startup already, and if you ask, hey, do you know, can you explain to me what is vesting process? You would see like most of the people, they don't know what is vesting and they cannot explain, but you guys can know. And that's why I encourage you every day I'm in the group chat and I say, hey, have you done this thing? Have you looked into this thing? I'm spending my time and giving you that guys the guidelines so that you get to become a full-fledged founder. If you give your time commitment and your effort into building what you want to do, then you are going to get the results of that. So uh, the key thing that you can do, that when you're feeling tired and not focused, you can just send me a message privately. Not if you don't want to say it publicly, that hey, can we take a break? We can take a short break, like 2 minutes, 5 minutes. That's completely fine. So feel free to do that. No need to just like keep listening to like boring lectures. If you feel bored, just let me know. We can just cheer up. We can have a chat, and then we can again get back. Today we have 70 slides. We are here at 23, so a lot more to come. So let's take a 2 minutes break for now, and just have some water. Just get up, do some stretching if you want, because it's morning. I know some people already got up from bed. So yeah, let's take a short break.
That would be great. I need to get my coffee.
Yeah, sure. Always feel free to tell me your requirements. It's all right. Together we'll make a way.
Yeah, it's coffee break now.
Okay, yeah. Take 5 minutes. If you need a little bit more, it's all right. We'll take a 5 minutes break. everyone. I think we can get started now again. So I hope everyone is here already. Um, okay. Let's now talk about rapid iteration. We talked about MVP, and once you build your MVP, the next thing is doing rapid iteration. What does rapid iteration means? Iteration itself means like having a base and from there on improving on that and including new features in terms of like startups. So let's talk about like how you can master the rapid iteration part. So as I mentioned already, in the MVP part as well, customer is the one who's gonna lead you towards success. So iteration also depends on that, the customer feedback, not just your intuition. And you need to maintain a short cycle for faster improvement. In the past, it was like once every 2 weeks, you just had some new improvement. But now, within less than once a week, you'll need to have some sort of improvement based on your customer feedback. If you look into an example of a really like big startup nowadays, they have $5 million valuation. If you look at the schedule on the right corner, if you'll see like they had a schedule, it was like kind of like of like how they're gonna make improvements. You can see weekly they had like every Monday morning they had kickoff meeting of like what they're gonna do and what are the things tasks they need to complete, and then they had this weekly release schedule from Thursday to Friday. So they launched every week some new features, some new improvements. And I don't mean like, okay, announcing and then going in public and say, hey, today we are launching this. It's an internal launch. It's like you are improving some product and some features based on the customer feedback. And every Sunday night, they had a design schedule, like all the designers and their team members, they would gather together and then just design things that needs to be improved. That's how a schedule worked. Like every Saturday, they had this kind of weekly release schedule. So, if you go into the way to measure it, if you look at the picture here, it's also about the Heian. You can see that user ID, like the person who's using it, and then the what plan they're using, the paid plan. Some people like $10 per month, $90 per year, something like that. And then how many video they generated. So if I give a, I don't know if I talked about it, like Heian is an AI video generation company. So if you have a language, if you speak in, let's say, Russian, and then you want to translate into like English, you don't have to translate by yourself. You just speak in Russian, and it's gonna convert that into English with your own voice right away, which is a really revolutionary. And a lot of the content creators nowadays they're using it as well. So this is how it works. Like, okay, they have uh, created a video 1 hour ago, this user 1 day ago, 2 days ago, and they have, you can see their mark. These are green, these are orange, these are kind of red, which means that these are the customers who are frequently using the product in hours, in days. And these are like who are like over 1 week, who are in the middle ground, like they are using free sometimes, but they are not really using that much. And these are the people who rarely use the product, maybe once a month or something like that. So that's how they see these are the daily active users, these are weekly active users, these are the monthly active users. And based on that, they can also filter their feedback. And so what they focus is that they're not focusing on feedback from them, like, hey, why don't you introduce this feature? Why don't you give this thing a try? They're not listening to them. They're just cutting this noise. They are looking into these people who are using it daily, who are trying to solve their problem. They're listening to them and building and improving their product based on that. So your goal would be to maximize the ratio of this green. So if you're building a SaaS startup, which means software kind of startup, it's really easy to get this kind of data. If you're building a hardware, it's a different path. You'll have to see how many people bought it, and your sales matters at that time. And in terms of iteration, you need to focus on the maximum amount of customers you can talk to. You need to question, but why? You might have a question like, but what if have like less than 50 user customers? Then talk to them more, as I mentioned, make them like your family and write everything down. Every single thing that they're talking about, write everything down, put it on the docs, prioritize the features that is most wanted, and based on that, you move on. So one key thing that you would hear a lot of the times maybe in the startup world is that do things that don't scale. And why it's said is because if you're doing something that scales really fast, everyone's gonna jump into it and everyone's gonna try to do it. If you ask yourself of like why OpenAI became the really the top hot like startup in the current world, even like 8 years ago, like 2 3 years ago, they were not that like hot of a startup. At that time, people didn't see the value of scaling. Same goes for NVIDIA. No one really believed that, okay, it can scale that much. But that's where, as a founder, you come in and you scale, you create new markets. Because if everyone can do the same thing, what's the value of you? You keep so OpenAI persisted for 8 years, did research, and kept improving their product day by day. Talked with their initial customers and users. Maybe we know OpenAI for like the past 2 3 years, but it was founded in 2014 or 15, if I'm not wrong. And from there on, they kept on building and building. And now they have created the market. They are scaling because they have persisted enough. That's why it's really important to remain close to your customers' problems and experiences. Don't be afraid of involving high effort and low efficiency tasks. You might sometimes wonder, okay, is it really worth it? At the very beginning, everything is worth it as long as you're putting high effort. And you can manually also recruit initial users. You don't need to just go into, let's slide into everyone's DM and say, hey, can you use my product and everything. You can just go your neighboring neighborhood or just in your university or wherever you are, try to talk with your users and then like recruit them like, hey, I have this thing. Would you like to try it out? And one key mistake that people make here is that that sets you apart from a research program and kind of like identifies yourself and your thing as a startup is that you're not paying your users to use your product. If you go and do research, you get a research funding, right? And then in the research funding, you have this like kind of like incentives that you can give to your like research based, like who are gonna be your targeted like people who are gonna like use your product and who are gonna be part of your research, all this thing. What you do, you just give them let's say 100 RMB per person who's gonna give you feedback of this thing. But this is a complete opposite of startup. That's why those research are always in the book. They don't really scale. Only a few of the research papers that go in and become like a real life thing and that changes and everything. Most of the research that is done, it's always on paper. We know this is a theory, this is that, but not real life thing because they cannot catch those users. It's really hard. If you, with your research project, let's say you have a research project and you want to make it a startup, you need to flip the screen. You need to go out, talk with your users, let them use it. Don't pay. They are gonna pay you. You're not gonna the one. We're not gonna be the one who's gonna pay them. So yeah, have this tailored interactions and customized solutions. Build core advocates and rapid feedback loop. Feedback, feedback, feedback. So a question that you can ask yourself while you are iterating, are people coming back to my product? Poor retention is often the most ignored metric by early founders. So it's often the reason even products with millions of users die. That's why a lot I mentioned about looking into history, looking into failures. When we start out as founders, we always look into the success stories. Okay, this founder did this and that. But you'll have to do reverse engineering. You'll have to look into the startups that failed, and you need to find why they died, what mistakes that they made, and then from there on into like go to the top. Like you need to learn from them and don't make those kind of mistakes. That's what can make you like a real startup. But if you're always following success, you're always gonna be unsatisfied. Like, okay, this founder at this stage of his startup achieved this and that. I'm not being able to do that. You're gonna go into compare mindset, which is not really beneficial. When you go and make a startup, it's a whole new world of your own, and only your customers matters at that point. And there are different ways that you can measure of the your performance of your startup. If new users are coming back, when they're coming back, 1 week, 30 days, then the number of people who use it every day. I already talked about it. And for business to business, like you can look into like if you are giving a B2B startup, you can look into like what is your revenue churn and deduct the monthly lost money, and then you can find the result. But that's not important for you guys because you're not really doing B2B. Some tips and I'm gonna give here is that like the key problem when you're making that you're making when you're trying to like launch your startup and you want to give the best experience to your users is you try to go into a website or an app and they ask you to sign up, right? And then you click sign up, you fill out every information, you do captcha as well, and then they take and they say, hey, go and confirm the email or give me your code that we sent to you. Once you make that barrier at the very beginning of your startup, especially in your MVP, the retention rate will go down because people doesn't want to like spend 5 minutes to do everything just to have a look at what you've built and have experience. So just remove that part. You don't need to have a confirmation at the very beginning because you're not going to a wide range of people. Just if it's feasible, just let them see the product first, and then if they want to sign up, they can sign up. And a lot of the startups now follow that path. That's what we mentioned. Like, let users use the product before asking them to sign up. And this initial user experience is really important. If they feel like this is a ease of use, even there's another competitor in the market who's like really complicated, they're gonna ditch that thing and comes back. Because at the end of the day, we'll have to understand we are human beings. We had ancestors who always followed the simple path, and we want to follow the simple path. We don't want to spend time into these things that takes our time. We have a lot of other things to do in our life as well. So you'll have to make that simple to use. Like for today, when if you go to a website, the simple example, ChatGPT, you just go to a website, search ChatGPT, you can use it right away, even before signing up you can use it. But then you hit a limit and then you can sign up. So you can follow that path. It's a really great strategy. Now let's talk about pivot. We talked about MVP and how to iterate. Now we can talk about pivoting and when do you need to pivot. So what does it mean by pivot? Pivot is like when you see that your startup is not performing as you hoped for, then you need to change some things of the whole idea. Maybe you need to change some features. Maybe you need to change how do you present yourself to your users, and a lot of other metrics that I'm going to talk about right away. That is pivoting. It's not about like ditching your idea and just moving into a new idea. Like, oh, now this is a hot thing. Now AI is hot. I'm going to do some AI startup. Um, no, like if you have started something out and if it doesn't work, you need to pivot in a way that can help you solve that problem that you're not being able to solve. So it's not a big bang moment. In the beginning, a company that is not quickly ideating, rapidly learning, and changing assumptions is probably not moving fast enough. It's as simple as that. So you might have a question like, okay, what is a good time to pivot and when it is not? A good reason to pivot is that if you have an idea and you say, and you've been working for it for some time, like for like probably a year, and you say, I hate working on it. I completely hate working on this. Then you can pivot. A good reason not to pivot is you're trying to run away from doing hard work. So you'll have to face the reality. Is it that you are just avoiding the work or you just hate working on it? You're trying 18 hours per day work and then like let's say 100 hours per week, but still it's not working. That's a different thing and you hate working on it. It's not growing. Obviously it's a really good reason, like your startup is not growing. But if you think like you're repeatedly changing ideas, like, okay, today you have this idea, tomorrow I have this idea, and then later you're giving up on them before launching and doing sales, that's not a good reason to pivot. And then others can be, I'm not a good fit to be working on this idea. Why? Because maybe you read a article about some hot new trend that I mentioned that is popular with investors and you want to chase it. I'm relying on an external factor outside of my control to make my startup take off. If you rely on external factor, that can be a good reason to pivot. You have, and the reason not to pivot would be you haven't explored all the levers with your control, maybe distribution, pricing, positioning, anything yet. You have to try everything out, and then you can think about other things and then pivot. Lastly, I'm out of ideas on what to do differently to make it start working. You don't know, you don't have a hell of idea of how you can make a difference. Then probably you can just pivot. But even before that, talk with your co-founders, talk with your teammates, talk with your customers, and then go on. But good reason not to pivot, you haven't talked to enough users or tried enough experiments to learn what might work. That's why I emphasize enough on building it early, as fast as possible, launching it as fast as possible, because these are your experiment stage. You're experimenting on what you have. Then if you look at the when to pivot is like, as I mentioned, lack of product market fit, PMF. Your product is not really matching with the market, or maybe there's not real need for that yet. And there's like market feedback, shifts in the market, resource constraints like new, and there are new opportunities. So if you look at this bar of like, if your growth stalls, your low retention rate, no more great growth users, that's the way, and that's the time when you can pivot. If I give you some real life examples of like how much time it took for big companies to pivot. The first of all, YouTube, when they started it, within the first few months, they pivoted. At first, do you know what YouTube was started for? Anyone knows? Okay, I'm gonna say it. So YouTube at first started as a video dating site. So what their core idea was that everyone, the guys and girls, they're gonna come and introduce themselves with a short video, and then they're gonna try to meet with each other, and then that's how it's gonna work. But then at that time, they saw bigger opportunities. They saw that no, like people, they're not a certain platform that has the access to upload wide range of videos. And then from a video dating site, pivoted to a video uploading platform. And now YouTube is the biggest video uploading platform in the world. They have billions of revenues every year. That's called pivot. You're not changing. You're not stopping your startup. You're not closing it right away. You're changing into a different paradigm. You're thinking about, okay, maybe I'm not going to do this, but I'm going to do it in this way. Then there are also other startup breaks. Okta, maybe you don't know, most of you don't know about it, but if you're interested, you can look up WhatsApp. Same, at first they started as a status platform, like the people can like post their status, like if you have used Facebook, it's kind of like that. But then they saw like it's like not really a huge market and people are not using it frequently, and then they shifted to instant messaging, and that's where it clicked. And then if you look at other startups, most of the top startups who started up at the very beginning, they pivoted. I mean, not everyone, but in the modern world startups, like in the 2000s startups, they have pivoted in a lot of different way. So if you look at the timeline from starting to 5 years down the line, even there are companies who pivoted in their first year, like Instagram, Discord, Loom, Twitter. And then there are also companies who pivoted in their fourth year, like Notion, which is like widely used team management tool right now, and task management tool. Twitch, which is the most famous streaming platform right now for gamers. And then also there's like Lyft, which is like a ride sharing app. Framer, they even pivoted in 5 years. If you want to like really learn about how pivot works and all the things, then you can just pick one of the startup and you just can ask Google or Gemini like, hey, I want to learn why they pivoted and when they pivoted and what are the reasons. You'll be able to see how the thinking process works in a startup. When a startup sees a bigger opportunity and they can serve a bigger customer, that's the time to pivot. And I'm warning you guys, don't mix up pivoting with stopping. Like pivoting doesn't mean that you ditch your main idea and you go and you don't ditch your idea and you go into a new startup, build a new one. No, pivoting is like you stay within your range and you try to improve some things. You try to go into a new market and try to serve those customers. But you'll also make a pivot based on the market needs and the customer feedback. Your customers will lead you to the pivot. So another like really good example is Dale. It's a startup who helps employers to find workers from around the world, remote workers. So if you're in the US or if you're in China and then you want to find someone who specializes in, let's say, Latin American market, you can find someone from Colombia or from Bolivia, from there. They work on that, and they also kind of like manages the cross-cultural or cross-national payment processes. So at first when they started, their main idea was to only focus on the payment. Like what they wanted to do is like they wanted to do cross-country payment system. But then they got accepted to YC. And it's a really interesting thing. That was their core idea, and that's what they're gonna pitch during the demo day, like the final day of the YC's accelerator program. Like we also have a demo day at the end. What they did, just one day before the demo day, they changed their whole idea. Everything that they've done, like not to what I mean by change the whole idea is like instead of just focusing on the payment, they included the hiring process and everything because they saw a greater opportunity at that time. When they started out, maybe there were not great opportunities, but the COVID hit. That was a really turning point for their startup. So when COVID hit, you saw a surge in remote working. People had to stay at home, and then they had to work still because companies couldn't really stop working. If they stopped working, they had to lay the customers, lay the their employees. So they saw that opportunity, and then they changed into this like, okay, we're not only going to provide cross country payment processes, we're also going to let people hire people from around the world, and it really clicked. And then they were able to raise like 683 million over 5 founding rounds. They even raised a Series D round, and I think they're going to raise a new one. They had investors from YC, as Angel, Spark Capital, A16J, which is like Anderson, Horowitz, Coat. And now their current valuation is $5.5 billion. So this is a really cool example of pivot. Like you are targeting a market, but then you see a bigger opportunity in that market. You go and grab that one and you become a leader. It might have not happened with Dale if COVID didn't happen, but COVID changed the way how they do things, and then now this what happened. So this is a really good lesson that you can take away. Adversaries are not always like struggle. It can always be opportunities. So I think I already mentioned about that. What was they before and what they became later on. So the factors that influenced the pivot for the decision is that the YC office hour, like now that how we have office hours, YC also had that kind of office hours, is like you can talk with the mentors, and then that's how they were able to find that market gap. Although their product was growing, I'm not saying like their product was not growing and then they had to pivot. Their product was growing, but not exponential growth that one would hope for. And then they got critical user insight and user integrate payment and contract functionalities. Like they wanted to have like the contract functionality as well to like hire people and all the other stuff. And they realized the market gap. Find a big gap in the seamless integration of payments and contracts, all this stuff. Yeah, I think I also talked about this as well, of like what was the thought process behind the pivot. They wanted to capture a larger segment of the market that was underserved, and they focused on validating the new integrated approach with more customers and quickly scaling the solution. And they had to do a redefinition. They redefined Spark strategy for a basic payment and contract service to a comprehensive global hiring platform. So there are also a lot of other pivot idea behind these big startups, Pinterest, Instagram, Notion, Yelp, and Shopify, PayPal, Twitter. Everyone had different strategies. Someone noticed one feature like that showed pull. Someone noticed that internal tech is showing them to like pivot. This someone saw like bigger market opportunities, and someone even like ideated internally. They thought, okay, this might be a really cool market to capture, and that's how they moved on, and they tried to go into new market, and that worked out. Okay, now we're at a point where kind of can align with all of us, because now it's an AI era. Even like last year when we talked about MVP, we didn't really include AI and era because it was not that improved at that time, and we couldn't really imagine what you can do with era. And nowadays, other live coding platform like Cursor, then you have a Lovable, Base 44, all the things that we have, you didn't have that at that time. That's why I wanna give you guys some of the new characteristics of MVP in the AI era. I can just skip that. These are the comments from founders who are building their startups with AI. You can look into it once I give you the slides. But some key ones are that you can build AI product MVP in less than 24 hours that we already discussed. Educate your users about the segments that you don't serve well. Again, coming back to Haitian that we already talked about. What they did at the very beginning when they had started out, they posted an AI spokesperson on Fiverr. And what they said, like, okay, I'll be your magic AI spokesperson. Like, if you wanna like do a presentation, if you wanna like make a video, like you could just give it to them, like, and they're gonna create that thing for you. They created an AI avatar and they served it as a customer. And what that did is that it created a on-demand video footage they could deliver in 10 minutes instead of days. In Fiverr, if you have ever tried to hire something or do some work, it takes days to like go through the contract, and like the person needs like at least a day or a week to complete the project and then deliver it to you. But Agent, it was AI, so they could generate it in 10 minutes, and the cost was really less. Where other spokesperson who had done the same job like a real person, they charged maybe, let's say, $20, $30, but they charge only $5 for 300 words that you want the spokesperson to talk about, which is like only 10% of the cost. So what happened? Like once they launched this thing, this is how they validated their MVP. Is like they reached from 0 to 1 million annual recurring revenue in 7 months, in just 7 months. So by the end of 2023, Agent's AI video translator localized our video advertising. Then Avatar 2.0, exquisite avatars, like it's like a model of their video generation platform. That it had avatar within 5. It could create one within 5 minutes, and it has like personalized video generator that can do in a few minutes. And this is how it worked. If you look at the graph, you can see this is how it work. Suddenly it's a spike. Once they found, this is where you find the product market fit. This is the place. That's the time when people start talking about it more and more, and then it kind of spikes. I don't know if you can listen to this. Let me try it out. This is a really demo of the product that they have built. How this works. Let me see. I don't think you can listen to it, but let me do it.
我去了很多地方，比如意大利、
Okay. I think if there's an echo, there's a problem. I think that's why you're not being able to hear it. But wait, just give me a moment. Let me see if I can show it to you guys.
Conservatives will not have any jobs. All these was.
It doesn't really work in that way. It's having an echo, right? So what it does, I think I can send this video to probably our group chat later on. It's really interesting that Taylor Swift is talking in English, but you cannot really like distinguish like if she's really talking in Chinese or in English. That's how accurate it was. Let me just go back one more time. Um, okay. Uh, uh, okay. Just can anybody let me know that if there's an echo or it's just only me who's hearing the echo?
Yeah, there's an echo.
Okay. Yeah. Um, let me see if I can find one more way. I think that can work pretty well. Just wait a second. Yeah. I'm gonna open the slide in my phone and try to play it there and put it near my microphone so that it works. Okay, I think it's gonna work here. Oops.
I think it would work if you turn off your sound, because I think the echo comes from your speaker.
But if I turn off my sounds, then I think from the slides you'll not be able to hear it. Like I tried 1 second, how I can show it
Okay. Okay, yeah, doesn't matter. I think we got the idea.
to yeah, doesn't really matter.
And you
Okay.
can also share it in the widget.
Yep. Okay. No worries, we can just move in because we had also one more demo. It's called Suno AI, which also needs, so I was just figuring out how it can work. Yeah, I think it's gonna work in this way. This is page number 47. We can also take a short break in this way. Yeah. How many of you here can speak Chinese and understand Chinese? Because I think you guys have been studying in China for a long time.
I will be back to China in 2 months, and I'm gonna stay there for the next 4 years.
Oh, Sharon is saying idiot there. Idiot. Okay. Okay, let's move on to our other scripts. I will try to share this video with you guys. So yeah, we were talking about the iteration and the by user experience and how the product is used by the users. And so this is how it works is that if you look into the reviews of this product, like it has like the most amount of instant reviews in the platform of like I'm what people are really using it for and what kind of things that they need. And some people, if you have a bad review at the very beginning, that's also good because that means you need to improve in some certain areas. So if you're building something, just keep a way for people to review it right away. If you always try to like do it like, okay, you send them an email and they need to send you an email, you're just giving them a form to fill out, it might take more hassle. So it might be a really good idea to keep a way for them to give feedback. One more example is about Figure AI. It's a humanoid robot company who raised $675 million. Its valuation 2.6 billion. So here's the two key differentiation if you are trying to build your startup in these two different areas. One is hard tech, one is soft tech, which is software. If you, the example that I gave you, like Hagen, their seed fund was, I think, $2.6 million, where this company Figure AI, their founder, he himself put $100 million at first before even going into raising funds, because it's a hard tech company. You to build a prototype, you need a lot of money, a lot of resources to do that. And then once they had a product, a robot, then they could go out and then ask for funding, and they raised at first 70 million, and then later more. And in the Series B, $675 million. And I heard that recently they are planning to raise $1.3 billion, which is gonna make their company valued at $40 million, nearly 40 million. Sorry, $40 billion. So it's crazy. So that's the thing of like, if you're trying to go into hard tech, you'll have to have that initial funding by yourself to build a product. I'm not saying that to build a robot, but any kind of hardware product, and then later you can go on funding. But as you are in the stage of software where most of you are trying software, you don't need to go into that route as well. There are another example about iteration about Suno. Like, they had this model called Bark, which was like open source model where you could create, you could generate a voice and then just download it by yourself. And what they saw, that people who are using this open source model, they are deleting the voice and only keeping the music, like the background music. That's where they saw a market opportunity. Like the company Suno itself, they saw that people are trying to create new music. So that's where they went on and made their company proprietary to like make AI music. And that's how they created AI music. If you go into nowadays new industries, it's the way to do it. Like, a lot of people are creating AI music from using technologies. Even like musicians, they're using these technologies. I don't know if I can show you guys this example as well. This is what I wanted to show you. But it's like we made a song that is about MVP with AI. Like, we ourselves, we made it. So I have the link. I can give you guys the link, and I think you guys can just paste it in your browser and you can check it out. It's in the group chat. You can just go out and look at it. Look it up. It's called Prototype Hustle. Okay. I'll just probably move into our next one. Yep. I hope you can see my screen. Yep. So if you look at the words, is my screen visible to everyone?
Yes.
Because I moved to a different browser. I'm not in the slide. Can you see the browser?
Well, it's worth an example free Sono and there's
Okay, yeah, that's and I moved from there. 1 second. Yep. Let me play it for you guys. Yeah. Yep, that's done. So you can look at the words now. Is that building up from scratch with my prototype, turning visions into code? These are all AI generated.
Turning visions into code, that's the art of life. It's step by step, how to make it precise. You know, I dice, rapid innovation, no tunnel waste. Just in tweak until we find a place. A/B testing, gotta keep the pace. Innovations, the game ain't no time to chase. Prototype, hustle, we never stop. Building, innovation for the top. You know, fight, it's going.
Okay, I guess you guys heard it. It's completely AI generated. We just told them like, hey, generate music for MVP, and then it created this music, and we gave it some keywords, and it was able to generate it. So this is how good the product was, and that's where they found the product market fit, and then they created this new version. They pivoted into creating only AI music rather than also generating voice. So now we're going to talk about commercialization. Once you build your MVP, now it's time to commercialize. And for some people, commercialization means earning bucks, right? So now it's time for you how you can make it profitable. So there are a lot of things inside this category. The first thing that comes into play is like that you can validate in your MVP. Are your users willing to pay? Which users are most willing to pay, and how much is the value of your product? Maybe at the very beginning you're gonna set a like price, but maybe that's not the right price for your product. Maybe it's more or less, but you can only know that from your users, like how much they're willing to pay. Obviously, everyone's gonna try to like say, okay, no, it's only $5 in dollars, which can make sense if most of the users are talking about it. So if most of the users are saying, okay, they are willing to pay only $10, then you'll have to price it in that way. But if most of the users they are okay with the like $20, $30 that you have implied on your product, then maybe that's the right fit for you. And you can try it out for the long run and see how you can do the retention of your users. And there are some parameters that you can use, like for free user and paying user. So in terms of requirements, it's free, but for paid users, like the payment is a higher requirement for them. And then testing new features. When you have free users, they will give you broader range of feedback. But paid ones, detailed and focused on real world application. In terms of retention, people who just uses it for free is that they're exploratory, like sporadic, like they're not really using it every day for their own use cases. They're just trying it out, just trying to solve a problem here and there, but they're not real customers. People who are motivated to utilize what they have paid for, like every single thing, like you see sometimes when you pay for something, we're like, no, we'll have to get the most use of it. That's what we had in this platform as well. Chris knows as well. We implied 1,000 yuan. I think we know, because once you pay for something, you know that okay, I'll have to get the most amount of value from the thing. Maybe later in our upcoming cohort, if we make it in person at that time, obviously we're going to imply that again to get the full commitment of the students so that they themselves can value the thing that they are getting and they build a startup. That's the initial goal. If we can help you to build a startup at the end of the whole cohort, then it is as much as it's our failure to do that, it's upon you as well, because you only know how much you valued and how much effort you put into it, and also we also know how much we put into it. So that's where the paid users come into play in your product. So the good example that I gave, if you look at their plan for HeyGen, they had free. They gave every user to generate one general credit to generate videos, and they had creator pack, team pack, and for enterprise, it depends on different enterprise. So then they said, let's talk. Like that means they will have to discuss and give the whole price for the whole enterprise or for the whole company. So make your pricing really smart. I'm gonna talk about it later on as well in the business model. At least like at most have only 3 pricing model, probably like a free one and 2 paid ones. One basic one, one sub premium one. And this money that you are getting from users, it can also be used to invest in the future. Like let's say you're running out of your investor money. This money that you're getting, you're gonna have to put it back. If you have a mindset of like, okay, the money that I get from the startup, I'm gonna use it for my own betterment. Like, okay, I'm gonna buy a car, I'm gonna buy a house, I'm gonna be rich. You will see within the next few months your startups are gonna die. I can assure you, because the thing is that the money that you're getting initially is it should be used for the startup itself. Because if you look at the founder stories, you would see most of the startups how they lived at the very beginning stage of their startups. They ate ramen noodles, like instant noodles, to live. Even though they had $1 million startup, they lived like that because they didn't want to spend that money into a bunch of bullshit that can like only give them pleasure for a small amount of time. But then at the end of the day, the main key thing that's giving them that money is gonna die. If your startups die, you're not gonna be able to pay for your house, your rent, your car. If you look at the stories, the Airbnb's startup founder, which is what he did at the very beginning when he started out, he lived in the same apartment with all of his teammates, and uh, they worked part-time jobs. Even though they were doing their startup, they were doing part-time jobs. They were selling like I think no rules and a lot of other stuff to get money and then put that money into their startup. Like they did part-time job not to just sustain themselves. They just lived with no rules and everything is basic food they could just cook or just buy from the grocery stores, and then all of the money was put into the startup, and now Airbnb, it's a $1 billion company. Like, so that's the really key lesson and key mindset that you'll have to put into your mind. If you want to start a startup to like earn a lot of money, it's a good route for you to go into business. Like put a lot of money into a business, make a product, and then just sell, and right away you can get some money, and you are the only boss. You are the 100% owner of your company, and you can do whatever you want. And maybe, but even at that point, after some point, if you don't have enough money to get more users, improve your product, the business will die. So this is the key lesson that I want all of you guys to take with you, because it will attract and motivate your employees as well. When your employees see that as a founder, you're living a simple life just to grow the startup, because if the startup grows, not only you're gonna grow, but the employees will also be able to grow. They will also be able to have better salaries, better name. Because if it becomes a big company, they can also brag about it to their friends. So you need to value your employees like as you value yourself in a company. Because if they don't see the end goal of what you're doing, if they don't see that this is what value they're gonna get, then you're not gonna have a productive workforce. Having talents is so important, especially nowadays, and like retaining them is harder than ever. So to be able to retain them, you cannot just give them incentives like, okay, if you do this, I'll give you money. You'll need to show them the vision and like motivate them as a founder. That's why we say that a founder is not just a person who maintains the operations, it's also a motivational speaker for the employees. So keep doing that thing, do the customers and market verification. But this money making is about creating value. Not making money is a waste of social resources. It's true, because once you create money for your startup, you can give that money to your startup, grow it, serve more customers, serve more employees, better employees, give them more incentives. It's a really win-win situation. But I'm not that doesn't mean you cannot keep your own money. That what startups usually do once they raise money, they put a salary to their name, like simple employees. Let's say how you give salary to an employee, you get the bare minimum. Does anybody know what's the salary of Elon Musk? You'll see a lot of CEOs like Elon Musk that take only $1 as a salary. It's just not about like getting less money. It also helps them to get rid of taxes because they can get paid in stocks. But also even other startups like CEOs, what they does, they would take, let's say, only 10,000, 20,000 from the salary, and then the other they're gonna take as bonuses. Like if the company gets into a certain metric, what they does, they take it as bonus, because if you get bonus, you're not taxed on that bonus. You are only taxed on your income that you get from the company. So there are a lot of tricks that you'll be able to get, but usually at the very beginning when you starting out, you get some investments, you get the minimum amount of money that is only needed to pay for your food and for your rent. That's it. If you need, you can even sleep in your office if you are really serious about that. There are a lot of stories about Elon Musk living in his office for his whole life and working 100 hours per week. It's a really famous one. It's not only Elon Musk, but there are also a lot of other startups, even Sam Altman, Jensen Huang. He even cleaned toilets before being a startup founder. Yeah, Lisa said the same thing. Elon Musk sold all of his property and put that money into his startup. This is how serious you'll have to be if you have a startup and if you believe in it and you see the real customers who are coming back again and again and they want this product to be improved. That's where you put more effort and this money into your startup again to improve it more. Okay, enough about money. Let's talk about the first step to monetization. How do you segment and select your customers, and through which channels do you sell your products? So what is market segmentation? Market segmentation is about where, which city, which language, which climate are you in, and are you trying to operate? Who are the demographics, like their age, gender, income, education, like who are your customers? Then their psychographics, like what is their lifestyle, what is their interest? Let's say I give example because I know about one of your startup. If their lifestyle is like they're a language learner, you're only focusing on that specific type of person. And behavior, like what is the behavior? Are they purchase focused, use focused, or what is the intention, occasion, like what is their stage, life cycle? So a lot of different things. Because why do you need this information about market segmentation? Because you need to target your customers really specifically. Who are they, where they're from, what is their age, what is their interest? Because same brand, different products can cater to different user groups. If I give you an example, Tesla, like or other car models as well, have different models, car models, and every car model serves for different use groups. So, for example, the Tesla S model, it was a really fast car, 2.4. It can go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 2.4 seconds, and it's a high performance car, 785 horsepower. So it was catered to the people who are in the upper class, usually like $100,000 for a car. But they also had a Model 3, which was only $56,000 for middle class families who need a car for the family, and it doesn't have that kind of horsepower, but it's still has enough amount of torque to like have better performance. So, and then later they improved their Model S, introduced Model X, which was priced at $104,000, which also catered to the like fancy, luxurious people who are really interested into like electric cars and who had enough money. Another one was Model Y, which is also like really $60,000, which people could buy. So if you have a startup and you have different services can serve to different customers. That's why you need market segmentation to know who's using what and why they're using and what value that they can get from it and what value and what information that you can get from them. At the very beginning, it's really important to focus on one specific segments. Like don't just what I given an example of Tesla. They at first started with the Tesla Roadster, which served the high luxury people who have a lot of money. That's how they started. And then later, once they had success with that, they branched out to other categories. At first, start with a specific category, find your customers, then you can expand your customers. As I mentioned, but pivot as well. You can go into a bigger market later on. How do you conduct your market segmentation? So your product should serve a specific selling purpose. Classic methods include demographic profile and purchasing behaviors. Clearly define your segmentation profiles, such as startups from Cinco University's modeling and Serial Fund Enterprises. Like they have this kind of like segmentation profile. You can also create the segmentation profile. You can just search about it or go to ChatGPT and ask, okay, I have this product. I'm trying to serve this customer, this and that. Create a segmentation profile for me, blah, blah, blah. It's easy. Or even if you are doing enough research, you'll find who are the people that you're trying to serve, because your idea at first arises from the problem that you're solving. And now it's your time to find who are these people who have this problem. So that's a really clear-cut solution. How do you make market choices? Because when you're going and building a startup, it can fall under different markets. So what you can do, you can compare with the company's own focus areas. Like, what's your focus area? And then the customers you initially choose may not necessarily be your product's final customers. As I mentioned, you can have broader customer or different customers later on. But it's really important to find that focus area, like one single area where you can say, I'm the best in the world. So how to sell your products. Okay, before we move into that for a little bit, we are gonna take one more short break just for 3 minutes, so that you are again refreshed, and then we only have, I think, a few more slides. I think maybe 10. So yeah, but before that, later on I also have some announcements. So that will take a little bit more time as well. So let's just take a short break, drink some water, and we will come back again. Okay, guys. Let's get back on track again. So as we were discussing about how to make market choices, and after you make the market choices, how do you sell your products? So a simple guide to creating a sales strategy is like direct sales, which is like talking to customers, reach out to directly via calls or meetings. And there's like online store, like sell through your own website. Like if you're creating a product, even if it's like SaaS, you can have online subscription. That's a way to do it. And other one is cold outreach. Use cold calls or emails to find new customers, which is a really good way. Like you can go to like Instagram, LinkedIn, or Facebook, wherever you have your targeted customers. As I mentioned, at first you'll have to do user segmentation, like customer segmentation, and then you try to find where you can find them, online, offline. Maybe offline can be different events related to your startup. There might be online group chat community where you can do cold outreach. You can then send them a message, hey, we have built this amazing product or service, and you can just try it out for free. No hidden cost or anything. Just try it out, and if you really love it, let us know. Something like that. Just letting them use your product, and then you can use them as your feedback. You can also say them, would really appreciate if you like it or not, something like that. So then indirect sales strategy can be partnering up with different businesses to sell your product. It can be using distributors also, like let distributors handle your sales. Online marketplace like Amazon, eBay, if you're selling any product or some like real product, something like that. But these indirect sales comes into play once you have a base and you can spend some money, because if you want to use distributors, you'll have to pay them money to handle your sales. You can have a sales team as well at that time. But if I show you this chart, you can look into it, like how does this work, sales strategy. On the right side, you can look into it, like sales to major customers, direct sales, which is like local promotion, channel sales, store sales, online sales. Uh, so if your product has a good amount of customer base, it's sitting in the middle, and it has a good product price, less complexity, then it will sell. It will sell by itself. But other than that, you'll have to go into this like different ways of like online sales or like direct sales to improve your sales strategy. But the first and the basic thing that you'll have to focus on is like, how does it sell by itself automatically? As I mentioned, like organic growth. Once you find the organic growth, later to like expand it, you can go into other routes. So that was it for the whole lecture today. I have some homework for you guys as well. At first, you need to find your first potential customer. I think I already talked about it in our last lecture as well, to like start finding your customers, but this time is like you find and try to talk with them. Conduct market segmentation. You do your market segmentation, dive into the market if you want to develop a product or service, and define your first experiment. Plan and execute the experiments you need to develop preliminary MVP. I know some of you haven't really developed an MVP yet, but if you have already, try to execute. And people who haven't executed yet, for them we have the hackathon. So that's for you guys. It's an open platform, and we have talked about a lot of benefits that we want to provide for the top 10 ones. But for you guys, it's a little bit different. I hope all of you can build an MVP at that time, because if you don't have an MVP, if you don't have a product, we cannot take you to our final demo day. We can't just take you with just a presentation slide and just show, okay, this is what we're gonna do. At first, you'll have to do that. You'll have to build something, or you'll have to create something. Then you can go and show it to broader audience. Okay, I have done this. I have tested it out. I have probably launched it, and now I am in a stage to get funding and like kind of expand it. So that's why I really, really want all of you to build a product. And once you can build a product, then from there on, which we can take you down the line. Chris asked, when is the demo day? The demo day is going to be probably on August 16th, on Saturday. But we haven't decided it, but it's going to be around that time. Yeah, so I'm open to questions now. If you have any questions, you can open your mic and ask me right away.
Sorry, I have one question. My
Yeah.
internet is not stable. I couldn't hear you. When is the demo day?
The demo day would be in August 16th, next month.
Next month.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that would be the final day. That is also your graduation day from your this cohort and everything. And at that time, maybe some like most of you don't have a product yet, but I can assure you at that time you'll have a product. You'll probably even launch it. And that's what we need, unless you'll not be able to go to the demo day. And then because once you have that one and you can show it to the later market, I think you will see the real value and you will find more motivated than ever, because now you can see, okay, my idea has come to life. And once it comes to life, once you launch it, then you'll have to spend more time to take it to the next level. And that motivation, that drive will take you so far. So that's why we have a hackathon next week. But one more key announcement is that tomorrow at 10 a.m., I'm gonna show you guys of how you can build your MVP. I mean, some of you I know who have been working with AI tools before, who might know about Bytecode and everything. So if you feel that you can do it by yourself, you don't need to join. But if you really wanna learn of like, okay, I need to know that how can I build my product by myself or with my co-founder with AI technologies for our next hackathon, then you can join. So it's gonna be only 1 hour of I'll show you how you build it and what are the technologies that you can use, and all of them will be free. You don't have to pay for them, most of them. So I'm gonna take you from how you can have an idea and from there finally build a product that you can launch it right away. Uh, and after that, we will have a 1 hour break. For just for you guys to have some snacks and everything. And then from 12 to 1, we're gonna have our guest speaker session. So which is gonna be about how you start a startup as an international student here. And we have Mario. I'll share more information right away after our class. And he has studied in China for the past few years. He funded his own startup. He got it registered in Shanghai as well. I mean, I have shared that already, but yeah, he will give you some practical insights on that. He's from Spain, and I think you guys can get some value. He's one of the first speaker. Later on, we will have more speakers if we have enough time. But for now, that is it. And next week will be 2 days again, as we will have these 2 days. Saturday will be the first day of hackathon, and then Sunday will be mostly presentations and showing your startup to the judges and submitting them. So yeah, do you have any questions about today's lecture or anything about hackathons or in future? Okay. One more key thing that I want to mention is that some of you who haven't had an office hour yet with me, I highly recommend today you go for it, because I don't know some of yours, like what idea you're thinking about, what you're gonna build, and if you don't let me know about what you are trying, I cannot give you proper feedback on that. So if you have time today, because next week we will not be able to have office hours probably. So because we're gonna have hackathon, and then the next week we also might not have office hours on Saturday. But so because at that time you'll be mostly working on your startup to develop it and launch it in the market and all of the other stuff. So I know some of you who have already talked with me, and I hope you guys have utilized on that. And if you still need to like clarify some things, feel free to join today as well. But other than that, that was it for today. And I hope that every one of you has been working with your idea so far. And today's lecture about MVP, some of you who joined a little bit late, you maybe missed the first MVP part, let me know. I'll try to like give you guys the recording of the first part, but I'm I'll probably not gonna keep this recording anymore because it's only for a few days. I want every one of you to join the live ones because this is where we can have discussion. And later as well, because if I start providing recording to all of you, then it doesn't make sense to have it like live because we have some other students who couldn't join. You see, like I removed some people from our cohort because they didn't join the first two, so they has been removed from the whole cohort. So that's what is gonna stay as it is. I have talked about it like probably a lot of times of like we want the best of the best to become our alumni when you go out of this whole cohort program. Because you can, if you can launch a startup, it's not only gonna encourage other students in the future, but also you have a stage for your future career. So it's a win-win situation. I hope all of you can like utilize on that and use this summer, summer 2025. I hope this is gonna be one of your best summer in life. If you can launch the thing that you have always wanted to. So just work on that, and anytime if you need help, feel free to reach out to me. And during the weekdays, put as much time and effort as possible into your startup. And then obviously tomorrow I'll see you guys at 10 a.m. same time about how you can build your MVP. So yeah, and if you have any more questions, you can ask right away, or else we'll just end it here for today. Yeah, welcome, Lisa. Okay, so this is it. I'll be open to office hours from 1 p.m. Let me know if you can join the group note. And I highly recommend for people who haven't had an office hours yet to join today and let me know of what you're thinking and what you have discovered so far. And from there on, we can move on to building your startup. Okay, have a great day, everyone. I'll talk to you soon tomorrow. Bye.
Great
Thank
day.
you.
Bye.
Welcome.